At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
America's two great pastimes collide on this podcast. It is baseball and making money. From the dog days of summer through the October Classic, Greg Bases Peterson's going to be free swinging at the betting board as he tries to hit a grand slam for your bankroll. Now here is GP.
Happy Hump Day, one and all. It is a Wednesday edition of MLB Overtime Betting. Greg Peterson broadcasting from the Zuniga Studios out here in Las Vegas. Got a wonderful show for you today as I wound up having a chat with Chris Cotillo of MassLive.com. He's been all over the Boston Red Sox beat this year. He actually joined me while the Red Sox versus New York Yankees game was going on. It was right towards the 6th or 7th inning. We're going to talk to him because the Boston Red Sox made a plethora of moves on Tuesday. They wound up DFAing Blake Swihart. They had a new catcher in there yesterday. They wound up moving up some pitchers, moving some guys back, everything like that. We all know about the dysfunction of the Red Sox, so he's going to be joining me with that. In the final segment, I give you a side and total on every game on the Vegas betting board and a little something I'd like to call touch 'em all. But since we really didn't get any questions yesterday, and if you ever have a question for the podcast, feel free to tweet it in at @G_D1. Please do not DM them because I do not respond to DMs. I've got 12.9 thousand followers. If I tried to answer every DM, I would not be able to do this podcast. So that is why I take that approach. But feel free, fire them in on my timeline. More than happy to answer them on this podcast. But you know what? Let's take a look at yesterday and try to find some stuff that we can bet on in the future.
What happened yesterday? Let's go around the bases and find out.
If you bet the under in the Mets versus Phillies game, take a lap. The Phillies hang 10 runs in the first inning on Steven Matz, who gives up 8 runs without an out. His ERA going into this game was sub-2. It wound up being a 4.96 at the end of this as the Phillies wind up getting a 14-3 win. Paul Sewald had to wind up pitching 2.1 innings out of the bullpen, and then Drew Gagnon wound up going into the game for 5.1 innings. He gave up 5 runs. Steven Matz gave up 8 runs, 6 earned, did not record an out. The Philadelphia Phillies just had themselves a field day. Nick Pivetta didn't necessarily have the best start. He gave up 3 runs in 5 innings, but when you have that big of a lead, you know what? It's really hard to mess it up, and something else you really had to like to see if you're a Philadelphia Phillies fan is the fact that Jared Eichhoff wound up going 4 strong innings in this game, did not give up a single run and had 6 strikeouts, and then the rout was on for the Phillies. Miguel Franco had a home run, his 6th of the year. JT Realmuto, his 2nd home run. Sean Kingery, his 1st home run, and this was all with, by the way, Rhys Hoskins out of this game. He is currently listed as day-to-day. Just a massive offensive output for the Phillies and also for the Mets. Something you have to take into account whenever you bet their totals. 4 errors in this game. Rosario had a pair of errors. J.D. Davis had an error. And then Jeff McNeil, well, he had his issues. So that wasn't necessarily good, as that was a very easy win if you had the Phillies and the over like I did. Another easy winner, how about the team that I just mentioned a few minutes ago, the Boston Red Sox? Well, they did not get the win, as it was the Yankees all over the Red Sox in this one, 8-0. He had to like that Chris Sale's velocity looked a little bit better in this game, but he still got a bit shelled. In 5 innings pitched, he wound up giving up 4 runs, all earned, 6 strikeouts, and the New York Yankees were able to get a bunch of home runs in this game. Clint Frazier was able to go deep for his 4th home run of the year, as did Gleyber Torres, and then Mike Tauchman had his first career home run as a New York Yankee as well, so they were teeing off. But the real story here, got to be betting on James Paxton as a pitcher. 8 strong innings, gives up 2 hits, 12 strikeouts. Sandy Leon, the new catcher of the Boston Red Sox, went 0 for 3. They only mustered 3 hits, the Red Sox did. Jackie Bradley Jr., Xander Bogaerts, and J.D. Martinez delivered those, and They've got a lot of struggling bats right now. Really hard to bet on the Boston Red Sox with these prices at this point. Not so hard to bet on the Pittsburgh Pirates, though. One of the most profitable teams out there in the big league so far. Get a 5-3 extra inning win over the Detroit Tigers. It was Starling Marte who was a hero, as in the 10th inning, he was able to deliver a 2-run bomb. His second of the year, Jung-Ho Kang, got things going as well. He had a home run. That was his second of the year. And something encouraging for the Pirates was being able to get 8 hits. This is a team that has been struggling on offense. And the Tigers, even though they only got 3 runs, being able to get 9 hits was big for them, as back in the lineup was Harrison along with Nick Castellanos and Nico Goodrum. During the weekend, they were playing a bunch of guys that were just not their normal guys, to say the least. And Michael Boyd, even though he got a no decision in this one, once again pitched well, 7 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, 7 Ks, still an undervalued pitcher in my opinion, but the offense just not really backing him up at this point, as the Pirates got that win. The Giants get a win as a plus 170 or so underdog. Derek Rodriguez is proving to be a very good starting pitcher for this team, and the Giants offense finally awoken, as in this game they were able to pound out 10 hits. Steven Strasburg, who I keep saying is overrated, goes 6 innings, gives up 4 runs, 3 homers, and then the bullpen of the Nationals also gives up 3 runs in 3 innings. No surprise there. If you're looking for an encouraging sign for the Washington Nationals, it's the fact that Matt Adams was able to have his first home run of the year, but past that, not too many redeeming qualities, as going into this game, the San Francisco Giants, I think, had 1 player in their entire starting lineup that was hitting above 220. Steven Duger was able to get 2 hits. Brandon Belt had 2 hits. Kevin Pillar and Gerardo Parra also 2 hits. And then going deep for this team was Evan Longoria for his second, Brandon Belt his 4th, and Duger his 2nd. So a very big offensive output for the Giants. Maybe exactly what they needed. The Tampa Bay Rays, maybe all they needed was the Baltimore Orioles to come into town. At the time, team that had won 2 of 3 games, Baltimore Orioles, wound up having a little bit of a power outage in this one. They wind up falling to the Tampa Bay Rays by a count of 4-2. You have to like that Renato Nunez was able to get another RBI for the Baltimore Orioles. And Dylan Bundy wasn't necessarily great. He went 5 innings and gave up 3 runs, which for him is actually not too bad. And the Orioles did get 4 innings of relief with only 1 run, so that's actually not too bad. But for the Tampa Bay Rays, it was a VCL Garcia that was able to come up clutch for this team. He hit a home run in the 4th inning off Dylan Bundy, 3 RBI in this one. He was really the difference maker. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, Tyler Glasnow, a very good outing here. 7 innings pitched. He only had 3 strikeouts, but he only gave up 2 runs. And then Jose Alvarado and Castillo were able to close out the game for the Rays, so very encouraging sign there. The Cubs pitching seems to be really righting itself as well, as they get a 4-0 win over the Miami Marlins. Jose Quintana, another quality start, 7 strong innings, 7 strikeouts, and then Brandon Kitzler and Pedro Strop were able to give this bullpen 2 more solid innings of no-run baseball. The Cubs bullpen, I believe, has only given up like 1 run in their last 25 innings, by the way. It's really stunning. Meanwhile, for the Miami Marlins, Pablo Lopez actually looked pretty decent in this one. 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. He had 6 strikeouts, but the bullpen with Adam Conley and Sergio Romo both gave up a run. And for the Chicago Cubs, they've got some struggling bats, but they were able to get Javi Baez to hit a home run. That was his 5th of the year. Anthony Rizzo only hitting a $169, and Kyle Schwarber still below 200, who did not play in this game. So a little bit interesting there. The Milwaukee Brewers, well, their bats are having no problems getting going, as Christian Yelich hit a 3-run dinger in this one, as the Brewers were able to get an 8-4 win. Lorenzo Cain also went deep for his 2nd home run of the year. Yasmani Grandal, who we really need to take note of. He's hitting over 400. He had his 5th home run of the year. Jesus Aguilar was able to get a hit. That's a good sign, because he's hitting below 200, along with Travis Shaw, who had 2 hits in this one as well. The Brewers as a team had 12 hits, and the Cardinals actually had 11 hits as well. Their bats woke up. Marcell Ozuna had his 7th home run of the year, but Jack Flaherty, he's right now got a 5 ERA. Gave up 5 runs in 2.2 innings. And then from there, the bullpen of the St. Louis Cardinals wasn't necessarily sterling either, as they gave up 3 runs as a collective in this one. 2 of them were by Giovanni Gallegos. He wound up giving up 2 runs in 2 innings, and then giving up another run was Ryan Helsley, who's actually been a decent reliever for this team. He only gave up 1 run in 2.1 innings, so not a whole lot to be mad about there. But if there is something to be mad about for the St. Louis Cardinals, it's the fact that Paulo Goldschmidt's still hitting only 227. Gotta think that that's going to come around at some point. Something else that came around, how about the Arizona Diamondbacks being able to knock off the Atlanta Braves by a count of 9-6? Robbie Ray, he wound up going 6 innings, but he gave up 5 runs in the process as the bullpen of the Arizona Cardinals gave up 1 run in 3 innings. Not necessarily a bad showing as Greg Holland was able to close this one out, and Hiroshi Hirano also had a good outing. The Diamondbacks also did this without really getting a whole lot out of the deep balls. Christian Walker had the lone home run for the team, and he had 3 hits in this game. That was his 5th home run of the year. They were just getting a lot of hits. Escobar was able to get 2 hits for this team. Wilmer Flores had 2 hits. Kelly behind the plate also had 2. A lot of good showings there. And then for the Atlanta Braves, the bats were getting going. Ozzie Albies had his 2nd home run of the year and Ronald Acuna Jr. his 6th. But Max Fried, you had to figure that he was going to come back to earth at some point, and he actually had a decent outing. He had an ERA of 0 going into this game. He left with a 0.92. He gives up 2 runs in 6 innings. Didn't have wipeout stuff, 3 strikeouts, but the bullpen really let him down. Jesse Biddle gave up a run. Chad Sobotka gave up 3 runs without recording a single out. AJ Minter gives up 3 runs himself. Just absolutely inexplicable. The Atlanta bullpen is one that you really don't want to be backing. The Toronto Blue Jays bullpen, it's a little bit hit or miss at this point, but they were able to do enough to get a 6-5 win over the Minnesota Twins. Aaron Sanchez gave up 4 runs in 6 innings, but the offense was able to pick it up for the Toronto Blue Jays in this one as Hernandez and Smoke had 2 RBI apiece. Justin Smoke has really gotten things going. Freddie Galvis continuing to hit above 300 for this team as well, and there really wasn't a lot of power for the Toronto Blue Jays. They were just playing a lot of small ball. Meanwhile, for the Minnesota Twins, they were hitting the deep ball as they were able to get 3 home runs. Jorge Polanco wound up going deep for his 3rd home run of the year. Eddie Rosario hit a home run for his 4th of the campaign, and then Marwin Gonzalez all of a sudden had his 1st home run of the year, still hitting below 200 though. The big reason why this team lost this game though is the fact that Kyle Gibson wound up giving up 4 runs in 5.2 innings. And then from there, the relievers, most of them did good, but they were really let down by Trevor May, who wound up giving up 2 runs in this one. He hasn't necessarily been upholding his end of the bargain for the Twins. Something else that's not holding up their end of the bargain, the Angels offense. They had 0 runs against the Texas Rangers in this one as Jamie Barria wound up getting the start in this one. That was a fun one to say. He winds up giving up 4 runs in 5 innings, and the bullpen from there wasn't bad for the Angels. They give up 1 run in 3 innings. They still got one of the best bullpens out there in the bigs, but Mike Minor has been stellar for the team, and he pitches a complete game, 3-hit shutout. His ERA is now at 2.60. He's a guy that I might need to look to bet on a little bit more. He has been absolutely sensational. And then for the Texas Rangers, Asdrubal Cabrera went deep for his 6th home run of the year, and Joey Gallo also a home run for his 6th home run of the year. They were also able to get 2 hits out of Elvis Andrus, who's hitting 400 so far this year, so that was a good sign. The White Sox continue to get the job done as they knock off the Kansas City Royals by a count of 5-1. The Royals just not getting a lot of power generated as the lone run for the Royals in this one came off of a home run from Lucas Duda, his 2nd of the year. Obviously an encouraging sign, but they had only 5 hits in this one as Ronaldo Lopez goes 6 innings with only 1 earned run, and the Chicago White Sox bullpen continues to be one that you can trust. 3 shutout innings again, and some very good signs for the Chicago White Sox. Yonder Alonso goes deep for his 3rd home run of the year. They were able to get 2 home runs out of Johan Moncada, his 4th and 5th of the campaign. And then another nice sign is that Lurie Garcia wound up going deep for his 1st home run of the year. He's been doing a good job at the top of the lineup. So all in all, a very spectacular showing for the Chicago White Sox and a good showing for the LA Dodgers as they've now won 3 straight games. They were able to hold the Cincinnati Reds to 1 run. Kenta Maeda, a good start in this one. He's now 3-1, 6.2 innings, gives up 1 run, 3 walks, which is a little bit of a concern, but he was able to really do a good job. And then Jock Peterson goes deep again after he hits that walk-off home run on Monday. And then you just take a look up and down the LA Dodgers. You've got so many guys that are hitting quite well right now as they were able to pound out 13 hits in this one. Trevor Molly did not have his best outing. In 6 innings, he didn't scatter 11 hits because when you give up 11 hits, they're not scattered. They're clumped, gave up 4 runs. Zach Duke, in an inning of work, gave up 2 runs as well. So just not a very good showing for a Reds team that their offense still is not getting going. Joey Votto wound up playing in this game. He had a hit. I think I said in Touch 'em All, which IRA recorded, by the way, that he's been banged up, but he was back in the lineup in this one, which is obviously a good sign. But what isn't a good sign is the fact that the top hitter in regards to average right now in the Reds lineup from yesterday, Tucker Barnhart at a 265. So things not really going well for the Reds bats. They've been playing a lot of unders. And then the Mariners just did not have the power that they're used to having. They wound up extending their record streak of games to start a year with a home run consecutively, as Jay Bruce was able to go deep in the 8th inning for a solo shot, but the Cleveland Indians were able to get a 4-2 win, and the Indians looked like a completely different team with Carlos Gonzalez and Jason Kipnis in the lineup. It was Carlos Gonzalez who had the day off in this one, but Kipnis was able to deliver 2 hits. He has a .429 average ever since getting back into the lineup. Leonis Martin was able to pound out 3 hits. They weren't really playing the long ball in this one, but they had 13 hits. They did a good job of just being able to drive guys around. And then if you are looking for a very encouraging sign out there for the Seattle Mariners, Tom Murphy had 3 hits in this game, so they were able to get something going there. But all in all, we had a very interesting day in baseball that was topped off with the Rockies being able to get an 8-2 win over the San Diego Padres. Looks like their bats might be coming around as Nolan Arenado, his 3rd straight game with a home run. Garrett Hampson hit his first of the campaign, and Colorado got a very good start out of John Gray, gives up 1 run in 7 innings. Meanwhile, for the San Diego Padres, they appear to be falling back to earth a little bit as Nick Margevicius gives up 5 runs in 4 innings, and then the bullpen from there gives up 3 runs in 4 innings of relief as well. And the Houston Astros, they just continue to roll. This is a team that is now on a 10-game win streak, as the Astros were able to get home runs out of Josh Reddick. That was his first of the year. They also had George Springer go deep for his 5th and Alex Bregman his 2nd. It was just an all-around great performance. Colin McHugh continues to be a pitcher that you can back, gives up just 2 hits in 6 innings of work. And then from there, the bullpen was actually pretty good. They had the bases loaded in the 9th inning, but they were only able to surrender 1 run as the Oakland A's only mustered 4 hits in this one. The bats seemed to have gone cold, and Marco Estrada, 3.1 innings, gives up 7 runs. He's got a 6.85 ERA right now. If you're looking for something encouraging, Fernando Rodney did not give up a run in his 1 inning of work, and neither did Joakim Soria, but still, the A's had a very, very rough go of things in that one, but we are seeing some very good bettable trends. Overs in the Diamondbacks and Braves games have been hot. The Cubs bullpen really starting to come around. The Brewers are raking right now, and you can tell that the Rockies seem to be rounding into form as well, and the Cleveland Indians appear to be back at full force as well. So those were my main takeaways, along with continuing to fade the Boston Red Sox. And speaking of the Red Sox, Chris Cotillo of MassLive.com is going to be joining me next to talk about all the moves that were made by the Red Sox yesterday and just the state of the team in general. And that is coming up next right here on MLB Overtime Betting.
Greg is going to the bullpen as he makes a call to the Azuña hotline.
And we are back here on MLB Overtime Betting. Greg Peterson broadcasting from the Azuña Tequila Studios out here in beautiful Las Vegas. It is a great pleasure to be joined by our next guest, who is joining me live from the Red Sox versus Yankees game that is going down on this Monday evening as we're recording this a little bit early. It is Chris Cotillo. He does a great job as an MLB insider for MassLive.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Chris Cotillo, and that last name is spelled Cotillo. Doing terrific work out there in the wonderful state of Massachusetts. And Chris, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. And I know that you're out there currently taking in this Yankees versus Red Sox game. And we know that Chris Sale was on the bump. I noticed in the first inning, he was hitting right around 93 to 94 with his fastball. What were you able to see out of him this evening? Because it seemed like this stuff was a little bit better, but it just seems like he's not getting a lot of support from anyone else out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. His stuff has been better. He's gotten a lot of swings and misses on the slider. He's, been hitting 97, 98 with the fastball. He was at 97.5 a few times. I mean, it's been a lot better stuff than we've seen from him in his first 3 starts. In Seattle, got shelled on opening day. He was sick and wasn't really able to throw his fastball anywhere near where he's used to in his second start in Oakland. And then our home opener against Toronto, he really struggled. So his stuff has been better. A couple bad bounces for the Red Sox so far as Andrew Bogarts hit a ball, bounced off the top of the wall in right field and bounced back into play. You can hear the crowd right there. More stuff going well for the Yankees. And then, the inning later, Clint Frazier hits the ball off the top of the wall and it ends up bouncing over the wall for a home run. So kind of, someone I know tweeted a microcosm of the Red Sox season. It really is. Bad bounces the Red Sox had. Second and third with no outs against James Paxton, who's been really good an inning ago, and they 1, 2, 3 after that. So their offense is sputtering. Like you said, not a lot of support for Chris Sale, and they're in a 4-0 hole right now in the top of the sixth.
And he's actually right now dealing with a little bit of a new catcher as well, because we saw that Blake Swihart was designated for assignment. It remains to be seen exactly where he's going to be ending up, but Sandy Leon wound up getting the start for the Red Sox on Monday. I thought that was a very interesting move, and I know that there were quite a few others as well. Can you give the listeners a little bit of what all happened Monday afternoon before this game? Because there was just a mass exodus of moves made by the Red Sox.
Yeah, the Red Sox decided to really shake things up. At the end during spring training, they really had 3 catchers that they were choosing 2 from. They carried 3 for all of last year, but didn't have the roster room. Last year, they carried Christian Vasquez, Sandy Leon, and Blake Swihart. This year, they decided they were only going to carry 2 of those 3 guys, and decided at the end of spring training that those spots would go to Vasquez and Swihart. Through 17 games, the pitching staff has been horrible. Their preferred catcher is Sandy Leon, and the Red Sox decided to make an early, surprising move, designated Swihart for assignment, brought up Leon, and he's Sale's preferred catcher. So that might be, something that people thought would help Sale. Obviously, he's down for tonight, so not that much. But Swihart's on waivers. We're going to see where he goes. And, Sandy Leon has more familiarity with his pitching staff than anybody. So not by any means a new face, but a surprising move today. Also made a bullpen move. Erasmo Ramirez, who's currently warming in the bullpen, comes up to provide some length, can start, can relieve, will be used as a long reliever. And then Marcus Walden, who's been up for the last few days, goes down.
Exactly. That is a good microcosm right there, as we have got Chris Cotillo joining me right here on MLB Overtime Betting. And something else I've really noticed with the Boston Red Sox is that they've got a lot of guys that are right now struggling with the bats. Steve Pearce hitting just above 100 right now. Mookie Betts only hitting just above the Mendoza line so far this year. Jackie Bradley Jr. hasn't necessarily been able to find it. What do you think has really been the reason why a lot of these bats have been really slow? Because we've noticed Xander Bogaerts has been picking it up. JD Martinez has been his consistent self. But past that, there haven't been too many reliable options out there in the lineup.
Yeah, no, it's been bad. Mookie Betts has been off to a really slow start. He said yesterday what he's been doing is unacceptable. Steve Pearce was out with a calf strain for, the second half of spring training, and then he was on the injured list to start. Didn't have any rehab games and came back and has been, putrid so far. And really, like you said, JD Martinez, Xander Bogaerts have been the only ones hitting, been very inconsistent. Last year, they were blowing teams away offensively, and so far haven't been able to. So I think teams are pitching them a little bit better. They're going to have to make adjustments, and this team needs to have more than 1 or 2 guys hitting for them to reach, obviously, their full potential.
And then I was reading on your Twitter page that it sounds like Brock Holt is probably going to be coming back within the next couple of weeks. I was reading more around towards the weekend or so. What's going to happen when he's back in the lineup? Because I feel like he could be a guy that could give this team a little bit of a jolt, because let's face it, they really need it.
Well, he's a guy who comes off the bench, does a lot of different things, plays a lot of different positions. The real thing there is that he will be able to play second. Dustin Pedroia struggled in his return. He'll be able to be another option, so they can have a 3-man rotation at second base between Brock Holt, Eduardo Nunez, and Dustin Pedroia. Holt can also sub in at shortstop, third, anywhere in the outfield. Can hit when he's on the field, but dealing with a scratched cornea in his eye, once he can see, he'll have a couple rehab games. Once he can see better and can see spin and everything, he'll be back with the team.
And we've also noticed another guy that I haven't mentioned, and he has not appeared so far in this Red Sox versus Yankees game, is Dustin Pedroia. He's a guy that's off to a really slow start so far this year. We know that he's been very riddled with injuries the last couple years. Is he a guy that's going to be playing every single day for this team? Is he going to be in a little bit more of a platoon spot? Because I feel like he just really hasn't been able to find his watermark so far this year.
Yeah, no, he is not. And he's not a guy that's going to be, playing in a normal 162-game role. He's going to play, probably 2 out of every 3 days at second. He's obviously the veteran, more or less the captain of his club. But Eduardo Nunez and Brock Holt are there as the backup at second base. The truth is Pedroia's knee can't hold up, 9 innings every day. That's just the way it is. He had cartilage restoration surgery in November 2017. Tried to come back last year at the end of May. Lasted only 3 games, was back on the shelf, and then was out for the rest of the year. Missed the whole postseason, and even was on the injured list to begin this year. So they're taking it slowly. They're being very careful with him. He's going to be a guy that, might play 100 games, might play 120 games, but hopefully for them, they'll have some increased production as time goes on.
Chris Cotillo of MassLive.com joining me right here on MLB Overtime Betting. He's actually joining me live from the Yankees versus Red Sox game, as right now, just to let you in behind the curtain, it is currently Yankees 4-0 in the bottom of the 6th inning, and you've had a chance to see James Paxton up close and in person. currently in this game, he's went 6 innings, 7 strikeouts, has allowed only 1 hit. What have you seen out of him? Because it looks like he's really finding his form right now. He has looked absolutely tremendous from the game that I'm seeing on TV.
Yeah, it's been impressive. I think he's really looked really strong, and his velocity has been crazy, 99 miles an hour. And he's a guy that's really struggled in his first few starts with the Yankees, but seems to be kind of coming into his own tonight. I guess going against this Red Sox offense is something that you want if you're a pitcher right now because they can't get anything together.
Absolutely, and you take a look at the Red Sox, the team that they were playing yesterday was the Baltimore Orioles. Orioles so far this year, I feel like have been actually a little bit of a pleasant surprise. I thought that this team was going to be awful, thought they were going to lose 100-plus games. While they're still not necessarily the cream of the crop or anything like that, they seem to be a little bit better than what we expected. What did you see when you were able to watch the Orioles a couple days ago? Because it seems like their bullpen is improving, and it actually seems like they've got a very decent offense that can hang some runs just about every night.
They're still going to lose 100 games, probably 110. So I did not come away impressed. I mean, they're the worst team in baseball. The Red Sox should have at least won 3 or 4, if not sweeping them. But they are a mess. They're trying to be a mess. I think the season will be a failure for them if they don't get the number 1 pick in the draft.
That's really interesting because I have noticed that there are a couple guys out there for the Baltimore Orioles that are hitting. Jonathan VR, Trey Boom Boom Mancini, even Dwight Smith, been able to do a good job at the top of the lineup. I'm right there with you. The pitching sucks. Dylan Bundy is awful. Andrew Cashner, out here in Vegas, we call him the cash burner because you don't want to be betting on him. And we saw Dan Straley, for some reason, have a no-hitter going into the 5th inning. I thought that was really interesting, but you're saying that series was essentially not so much hope for the Baltimore Orioles as much as it was just the Red Sox being a hot mess.
Absolute despair for the Red Sox at times, yeah.
Oh, that is something that's blunt, it's honest, and I absolutely love it. But the team that the Orioles are currently facing, the Tampa Bay Rays, I feel like they're a little bit more of a pleasant surprise, and they're going to be here to stay. Going into Monday, going into Tuesday, they were 12-4 with their record. The bullpen had been giving up a couple runs, but all in all, they've been doing a good job so far this year. Do you feel like this is a team that could actually contend for an AL East title? Because, as you know, the Red Sox are going through a bit of disarray, and the Yankees, let's face it, they're just all sorts of banged up at this point.
Yeah, no, the Rays are definitely, I'm going to be more positive on them than I was with Baltimore. The Rays are a team that is legit. They're 12-4. They're obviously off to a hot start, 5.5 or 6.5 games up on the Yankees and Red Sox. Their pitching staff's been incredible. Blake Snell on the disabled list with a fractured toe, so the Red Sox wanted to face him this weekend. But the addition of Charlie Morton, Tyler Glass now, what those guys have been able to do, they're impressive. They won 90 games last year. Kind of people thought it could have been a fluke. Clearly isn't, and they'll be in the mix at least for the first half of the year. And if the Red Sox and Yankees, if the Red Sox get right, the Yankees get healthy and right, could be a 3-team race here.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. I've been very impressed by the Rays. And just from your personal opinion, to close it up with this, what do you think the Red Sox really need to do to get right? Because obviously they won the World Series last year. Everything was going well for them. They really didn't have any sort of funk like they've had to begin this year. What do you think is the one thing that they really need to get into place that is going to essentially slowly but surely be able to right the ship for this team?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think, a variety of things. I don't think there's one thing. Pitch better, hit better, run the bases better, field better. And they had 6 errors in the last 4 games against Baltimore. I think it's just show more urgency. I think they sent the Red Sox management sent the message today. This kind of stuff is unacceptable. I mean, this is really, we're willing to take one of the guys and basically end his Red Sox tenure because we want to kind of switch things up. Not that Swihart was a problem in the clubhouse or anything. He's a great guy and everybody liked him. But they're willing to make that kind of change, just drastic change. And I've seen some people call it a panic move. There's urgency on their part, but there's no urgency on the part of the players. I think there's been 4 games that have stuck out to me as big games for this team so far. The opening day against the Mariners, they lose 12-4. The home opener after a ring ceremony, they lose to Toronto. And then Patriots Day, which is a lot goes on in Boston on Patriots Day. Marathon Monday, remembering the bombing, Jackie Robinson Day, 11 o'clock start. That was yesterday. And they get blown out by the Orioles. No urgency in those 3 games. And tonight, coming out flat in the first game against their rival. So it's been, hard for Red Sox fans so far. If everything holds, it'll be another loss. And there's a lot of work for this team to do, especially, if you think they're falling to 6-12 with a loss tonight.
And Chris, I would like to close it up with this. Where can good people find you out there on social media and elsewhere, since I know that you're doing a great job covering the Boston Red Sox and just the MLB in general?
Thanks. It's Chris Cotillo, Cotillo, and masslive.com, MASSLIV.
Terrific. A big thanks to Chris Cotillo for joining me live from the Red Sox versus the Yankees game. And coming up next, I give you a side and total on every game on the Las Vegas betting board as we touch them all.
Hey, I'm Steve Heitner, the guy who uttered the famous phrase, "That's gold." And that's the inspiration of my new podcast, That's Gold with Steve Heitner. We talk sports, sports betting, movies, comedy, food, drink, Vegas, music, movies, and more. 5 days a week. Did I say movies twice? Look, guys love it, whether they're hip or worried about breaking a hip. Find us on Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify and Stitcher. That's Gold with me, Steve Heitner.
Welcome back to MLB Overtime. Greg is throwing a gem, so yeah, he better not blow it.
And a big thanks to our man, Chris Cotillo of Mass Live, for joining me in the last segment to be able to give us a little bit of insight on the Boston Red Sox. Greg Peterson broadcasting from the Zunichiquila Studios out here in Las Vegas. And now that we're a little bit more enlightened about that, it is time to give you a side and total on every game on today's betting board, and we do so in a little something I'd like to call Touch 'em All.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch 'em all.
Note that there are going to be probably some changes in regards to the numbers I get. I'm waiting on quite a few of these today. Anything that is not locked in and gets locked in the morning going to be noted on my Twitter page at @unit_81. I'm always in wait-and-see mode trying to maximize value on these plays. And if I flip on any game for some reason, that'll also be noted there. And we're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order as we start with 901, 902. It is the New York Mets, and they are on the road to face off against Philadelphia Phillies. Jake Arrieta goes for the Phillies. Meanwhile, Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler on the bump for the Mets. Total in this game is 9, and it is shaded under. The under is -115, the over is -105. If you want to take a shot here on the Mets, you're going to get anywhere between +107 and +115. Phillies are laying anywhere between -117 and -125, and I'm actually going to lay it here with the Phillies. I know that they gave Rhys Hoskins a day off yesterday. I thought that was a little bit interesting, but all in all, they've got a lot of guys that are doing a great job of being able to hit for this team. Andrew McCutchen has come around with the bat. Gene Segura has really been a good addition to this team. Rhys Hoskins, by the way, day-to-day, so you want to be checking his status going into this game. But you know that Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto and company all have some pop in the lineup. Maikel Franco has 5 home runs going into Tuesday's action. He's been great. And the Mets themselves have some good bats. Jeff McNeil entered into Tuesday hitting just above 400. Pete Alonso, 6 home runs, 17 RBI. Wilson Ramos has been doing a great job of being able to get on. And then you've got even the lesser guys like Ahmed Rosario and company that have been able to do a good job of being able to get on base. Brandon Nimmo has come around with the bat as well. And in all honesty, the biggest disappointment thus far for the New York Mets has been Robinson Cano not hitting. But I will say that Jake Arrieta, even though he's issued 10 free passes in 20 innings so far this year, seems to be doing a good job of limiting hard contact. He's 2-1 with the 2.25 ERA. Meanwhile, Zach Wheeler and this entire Mets bullpen is one that I really cannot trust. Zach Wheeler had a very good start in his last outing after he was getting roughed up to begin the year, which is noted in his 7.47 ERA. In the game against the Atlanta Braves that he started, he allowed 2 runs on 6 hits in 6 innings, so that was a very positive sign. And I do think that he's starting to come around, but I do think that Arrieta is a better starting pitcher in this matchup, and I do think that the Phillies as a whole have a better bullpen. So for that reason, I am going to be on the Phillies in this game, and I've already locked that one in. And I am currently looking at this total under, trying to see if the juice on under 9 goes to more like 105 or -110 before I lock that one in. But those are my plays on that. We go now to 903, 904 on the betting rotation. The St. Louis Cardinals are in Milwaukee to face off against the Brewers. I just feel like I have to say this guy's name in a old English accent. Corbin Burns goes for the Milwaukee Brewers. Michael Waka Waka goes for the St. Louis Cardinals. Total on this game between 9 and 9.5. If you like the 9, the over is -125. The under is a plus price at +105. If you like 9.5, the under is -120. The over is even juice. The Milwaukee Brewers are anywhere between a -127 and -130 favorite. Meanwhile, the St. Louis Cardinals anywhere between +117 and +120. Michael Wacha has been walking so many guys this year. He is really living up to the name. 13 walks in 15 and 2/3 innings so far this year. Not too great of qualities, but what I will say for the St. Louis Cardinals, they've got one of the better bullpens out there in the bigs. It looks like Jeremy Jeffries is starting to get back for the Milwaukee Brewers. Likely not going to be available for this game, but looks like he's working his way back. You've got guys like Matt Albers and company that are still out there in the bullpen, so even though Corbin Burnes has not really adapted to his role as a starter, I think that things are going to be able to get better for him. I have to say this in an old English accent once again, but in his last start against the Los Angeles Dodgers, our friend Corbin Burnes went 4.1 innings, giving up 5 earned runs, including 3 home runs, to the Los Angeles Dodgers, where Yasmani Grandal bailed him out with a home run in that game. If you guys are shaking your head right now, I apologize, but Yasmani Grandal as a whole has been terrific for the team at the catcher spot. Going into Tuesday, he was hitting .417, doing a great job there. Christian Yelich had 3 home runs on Monday. He's hitting over .350. He's been tremendous. Lorenzo Cain out there in the field doing a great job. He's hitting right around .300 himself. Then you've got Ryan Braun, who's doing a terrific job in the lineup. The list goes on and on. And with the St. Louis Cardinals, you've got a lot of guys that are hitting for power. I do like that Paul Goldschmidt entering into Tuesday had 7 home runs and 12 RBI, but he was only hitting .226 going into that game. Colton Wong has really cooled things off. Paul DeJong doing a nice job of being able to get on base, but guys like Harrison Bader and company just not really doing the job for this team. We've also seen Dexter Fowler pick it up a little bit, but he's still not a reliable bat. Yadier Molina hitting just above the Mendoza line, and Marcell Ozuna is really starting to foul things, but we know that he's a hit-or-miss player throughout his career. I've actually locked in the plus price of the Brewers versus Cardinals game at under 9 at plus 105, and I've already locked in Brewers run line in this spot. I think that they really get to Michael Wacha, and I think that Corbin Burnes looks better in this start as well. That run line that I got with the Brewers, plus 155, seeing anywhere between plus 150 and plus 155 on the run line in regards to the Brewers in this game. 905, 906 on the betting rotation. The Cincinnati Reds are in Los Angeles to face off against the Dodgers. Walker Buehler goes for the Dodgers. Meanwhile, Sonny Gray for the Cincinnati Reds. Total on this game is 8, and it is shaded under. The under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. If you like the Cincinnati Reds, you're going to be getting between plus 160 and plus 165. Want late here with the Dodgers? That is minus 180. Walker Buehler has had one good start so far this year, but he just hasn't looked like the same pitcher that he was last year. And Sonny Gray has actually looked decent with the Cincinnati Reds. I know that he has an 0-2 record, but he's got a 2.03 ERA. He does a good job of not giving up a bunch of home run balls. I know that he was dealing with a little bit of a calf injury, but it sounds like he's all good with that. And he actually hasn't even walked too many guys so far this year. In 13.1 innings, only 4 walks. That's really not too bad. With the Cincinnati Reds, your big fear is their bats. They just really haven't gotten on track so far this year. Matt Kemp seems to be starting to come around for this team. Yasiel Puig was able to have a home run in back-to-back games on Sunday and Monday. Obviously a good sign. I know that Joey Votto is right now a little bit banged up, so that hurts. But Eugenio Suarez still out there in the lineup. And I actually do think that Dan Diedrich gives them a little bit of power. He entered into Tuesday's action with 4 home runs. We all know the Dodgers have some great power. Jock Peterson was able to hit that walk-off home run on Monday. Cody Bellinger probably the hottest hitter in the majors right now. Justin Turner hitting just above 300, but you've got a couple guys that are slipping themselves. A.J. Pollock, after a great start to the year, has fallen back to earth. Kike Hernandez still doing a good job, but he's not doing what he was at the beginning of the year. Austin Barnes a little bit of a rut as well. Corey Seager hitting .222. But I will say that I think that Walker Buehler gets roughed up, and I think that this is a spot where both these teams wind up getting their bats going. We all know it's there with the Dodgers, and with the Reds, they're going to start to hit eventually. And I think that Walker Buehler and a bad Dodgers bullpen is exactly what they need. I'm going to be on this game over. I'm right now in wait-and-see mode on the juice, and you know what? I'm taking a shot here on Sonny Gray with the Cincinnati Reds. I think he provides a better start than Walker Buehler will for the Dodgers, and I have much more faith in the Reds bullpen than I do in the Dodgers bullpen. So taking the over and the Reds, currently in wait-and-see mode on both those numbers. 907, 908 on the betting rotation. The Washington Nationals play host to the San Francisco Giants. Jeff Samardzija goes for the Giants. Meanwhile, Jeremy Hellickson on the bump for the Nationals. Total in this game is 9, and it is shaded under. Under or anywhere between minus 115 and minus 120. Over between even juice and minus 105. If you like the San Francisco Giants, you're going to be getting plus 130. Want to lay with the Nationals, anywhere between minus 140 and minus 145. I actually do like the Washington Nationals in this spot, and I'm not going to be able to quite take the run line just because you do have your trepidation with the Nationals bullpen. Going into this week, they had the worst bullpen in all the bigs with an ERA near 8. And Jeremy Hellickson, he is a solid starter, but he just doesn't go deep into games. He can typically give a team 5 quality innings, something along those lines. And so far for the year, he's been very decent in his starts. He's 1-0 with a 2.25 ERA. He doesn't necessarily have wipeout stuff, though. In his 2 starts, he's only went 8 innings. That tells you right there that he's not going to be going deep into games. You got to think that there's going to be some long relievers out there in the bullpen. And with Jeff Samardzija, he's actually been a very good pitcher so far this year. 1.62 ERA. He seems to have really found it. He had been a tough luck loser throughout his entire career. But the reason why I'm going with the Nationals in this spot is because they just have so much more hitting. Anthony Rendon, going into Tuesday's action, had 6 home runs, 17 RBI, and was hitting .400. You know that Juan Soto is able to rake for this team, and then you just take a look up and down. You've got more threats to be able to hit. Adam Eaton hitting right around .300. Howie Kendrick has been terrific ever since being reintegrated in the lineup, and you got to think that at some point Ryan Zimmerman is going to be able to find his swing. Meanwhile, with the Giants, you've got a bunch of guys that are hitting below 200 so far this year. It is not good, and it is not good at all. Going into their game on Tuesday, not a single guy in the lineup was hitting above 224. That was Brandon Crawford. Brandon Belt hitting 214. Buster Posey 208. Joe Paddock 205. Stephen Duger 221. Gerardo Barra below 200. Kevin Pillar below 200. Evan Longoria below 200. It's just awful. You got guys like Brandon Belt, and Kevin Pillar has been able to hit some home runs. He's been in and out of the lineup as well, but man, it's just hard to have any faith in the Giants right now. I think that they get a quality start out of Jeff Samardzija. I think that they're going to probably scrape across a couple runs against a bad Nationals bullpen, but I have a little bit more faith in guys like Rendon and company being able to score a couple runs in this one. I am certainly going to be on this game under. I'm right now waiting to see if I can get the juice more to 110, but the under is certainly the play there. But I've already locked in the Nationals as a play as well, just because I have no faith in this Giants lineup. Game 909, 910 on the betting rotation. It is the Chicago Cubs in Miami to face off against the Marlins. Sandy Alcantara goes for the Miami Marlins. Cole Hamels for the Cubs. The Cubs are a pretty big favorite in this one, as expected. Anywhere between minus 160 and minus 162 favorite. You want to take a shot on the Marlins. That is anywhere between plus 145 and plus 152. And this game is shaded under. The under is between minus 115 and minus 120. The over is between even juice and minus 105. Cole Hamels hasn't quite looked like the Cole Hamels that he did last year when he came over with the Chicago Cubs, but I do actually think that this is going to be a game in which he's going to have a good start in this one. Sandy Alcantara, not a bad pitcher, and he's actually a guy that I think is a little bit undervalued. I do think that the Cubs are going to be able to get into the bullpen after, say, 6 or 7 innings, and they're going to be able to erupt. You've got a couple guys out there with the Chicago Cubs that are struggling, most notably Kyle Schwarber and Anthony Rizzo. Both those guys entered into Tuesday's action hitting just below the Mendoza line, but you have to like the way that Daniel Descalso has been swinging the bat. He's hitting over 300 so far this year. David Bodie is hitting right around 260 as well. He's been doing a great job. Javi Baez has been picking it up, and Jason Hayward actually been a very pleasant surprise along with Wilson Contreras. Both those guys doing a great job of being able to provide something, and Jason Hayward going into Tuesday also had 4 home runs and 10 RBI. But with the Miami Marlins, I just don't know who's going to be able to provide anything for this team. Austin Dean, ever since he's been called up, has been able to give this team a little bit of something, but he's come back to earth ever since that one huge game on Saturday against the Phillies in which he had 4 or 5 RBI. Starlin Castro's hitting 232 now. Jose Alfaro getting back in the lineup is nice, and Martin Prado has been doing a good job in his at-bats along with Miguel Rojas. But past that, I just don't know who's really going to be able to provide some power. You've got Galloway now in the lineup. for the outfield for the Miami Marlins, and it's just hard to see this team really being able to get more than a run or two off of Cole Hamels, even though the bullpen for the Cubs has been very shaky to say the least. The Cubs bullpen seems to be really riding the ship, and Cole Hamels himself goes into this game 2-0 with a 1 whip. So I just think that the Miami Marlins are going to have a tough time being able to get some hits. I'm taking a look at the Cubs run line in this spot. Currently, I am seeing a run line price of minus 105 on the Cubs. Going to try to see if I can get more even juice, but I am all about this under with the Cubs and Marlins that I've already locked in under 8 runs in this game. Game 9-11, 9-12 on the betting rotation. It is the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they are on the road facing off against the Atlanta Braves. Kevin Gausman goes for the Atlanta Braves. Meanwhile, Zach, not very godly, goes for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and those numbers are going to be reflected when I give you the rundown on him. Total in this game is 9, and it is shaded under. The under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. If you like the Atlanta Braves, you're going to be laying anywhere between minus 143 and minus 146. Yeah, this number is very volatile right now. If you want to take a shot on the Diamondbacks, you're getting anywhere between plus 146 and plus 133. So depending on who you like, you're going to be getting a vastly different price on this one. And I am actually taking a look at the Braves on the run line in the spot because, for one, the Arizona Diamondbacks, they've got one of the lesser bullpens out there in the bigs. They've been letting them down time and time again. And then you're backed up by a guy in Zach Godley who's right now 1-1 with a 7.47 with a 7.41 ERA. That is just not a redeeming quality. You even go back to last year, he was 14-11, but he had a massive issue with walks. He gave up 81 walks in 178 and a third innings. Opponents hit 260 off of him. He lends himself to a little bit too much hard contact, and this is a ballpark in which fly balls can go out very fast. So far this year, he's allowing opponents to hit 266 off of him, 8 free passes in 17 innings. Just hard to trust him. Meanwhile, Kevin Gausman, he's had a rough start or two so far this year. All in all, he's been decent. His whip is under 1, 284 ERA. I like what he's showing. And with the Atlanta Braves, you've got a lineup that is hitting the ball and hitting the ball hard right now. Ronald Acuna Jr., one of the hottest batters out there in the majors. Nick Markakis has really been picking it up. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to be able to hit for power, but he does a great job of getting on. Freddie Freeman's been a little bit cold in past games, but he's still hitting above 300. Josh Donaldson is picking it up with the bat, and Dansby Swanson has been a great surprise for this team. Going into Tuesday's action, he was hitting just below 300, and he had been doing a great job of being able to drive runs in, 18 RBI to go with 4 home runs. Really like what he's doing. And then you got to think that at some point Enciarte is going to pick it up with the bat, as well as Ozzie Albies at the top of the lineup as well, doing a great job. With the Arizona Diamondbacks, you got some guys that are doing a great job of hitting as well. David Peralta hitting above 350. Ketel Marte has 13 RBI going into Tuesday's action. Adam Jones hitting over 300 with some home runs himself. And then even Nick Ahmad does a good job at the bottom of the lineup as well. So I do think that runs are going to be aplenty in this game. I just think that the Braves are really going to torch Zach Godley and this bad bullpen. I am already going to lock in the Braves on the run line in the spot. I'm laying the 1.5, and I'm taking the plus 135 price there, and I'm going to be playing this total over. Right now, I'm wait and see mode on the juice in regards to that over. We move on now to the Kansas City Royals versus the Chicago White Sox. This is 9-13, 9-14 on the betting rotation as Brad Keller goes for the Kansas City Royals. Meanwhile, he is going to be opposed by Lucas Giolito. The Royals are anywhere between a plus 102 and plus 105 underdog. The White Sox anywhere between minus 112 and minus 115. Total on this game is 9.5, and it is shaded under. The under is minus 120, and the over is even. The Royals are a very hard team to back at this point, but there is one pitcher that I really like on the Kansas City Royals, and that actually happens to be Brad Keller. He's 2-1 so far this year, 2.45 ERA. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and strike out the world, but he does a very good job of being able to limit hard contact. He gets strikeouts when he needs to. I really like the way that he's able to manage games. Meanwhile, Lucas Giolito, this guy has a walk problem. He has 18 strikeouts in 16 innings so far this year. He's got good plus stuff. 9 walks in 16 innings, though. He really lends himself to hard contact. And even though the Kansas City Royals doesn't necessarily have mashers, they've got guys that are able to get on base. I do like the way that Alex Gordon has been hitting right around 350 all year long. Whit Merrifield does a good job of being able to get on base, along with Mondesi at the top of the lineup. Ryan O'Hearn, Lucas Duda, Chris Owings, guys like that at the bottom of the lineup, not necessarily getting the job done, but Billy Hamilton is back in the lineup, and if he's able to draw a walk, that great speed is really going to lend itself well for the Royals. And then you have to like that Hunter Dozier has actually been picking things up for the Royals. Going into Tuesday's action, he was hitting above 300, and he's actually been hitting some deep balls for this team. 4 home run and 8 RBI. Meanwhile, for the Chicago White Sox, you got to think that they're going to be able to score a couple runs as well. Yonder Alonso has not really been hitting for this team. Eloy Jimenez has been a little bit up and down, but he's been doing a decent job. Tim Anderson hitting above 400. He's been sensational. Perhaps Wellington Castillo's home run on Monday is going to get him going because he's been very cold with the bat, along with Daniel Polka and Adam Engel. Both these guys just cannot get out of their own way. And Yohan Moncada has been doing a good job of being able to get on base. But the question is, when is Jose Abreu going to be able to bust out of his slump? He's hitting just above 200. He's got 3 home runs so far this year. He had to think that a little bit more was going to be coming. And with Martin Maldonado day-to-day, the Kansas City Royals are going to be a little bit light at the catcher spot as well, but I do think that they're going to be able to get the job done in this spot. I'm trying to take a look to see if I can get more of an even juice on under 9 rather than laying the massive juice on under 9.5. I think that Brad Keller is going to be able to give the Royals a good start, and I do think that Seam is going to come in a little bit on the White Sox, so I might be able to get the Royals at a little bit more of a plus price, but I will be on the Royals and the under in this spot. Currently in wait-and-see mode on both these numbers. 9:15, 9:16 on the betting rotation. It is the great rivalry out there in baseball. The Boston Red Sox go on the road to face off against the New York Yankees. J.A. Happ on the bump for the Yankees. Meanwhile, Nathan Eovaldi goes for the Boston Red Sox. Total in this game is 9.5, and it is shaded under. The under is anywhere between -115 and -120, as I had a little voice crack there. And the over is between even juice and -105. If you want to take a shot here on the Red Sox, you're going to get anywhere between +107 and +110. Meanwhile, the Yankees anywhere between -117 and -120. This is a spot where I do take a look at the New York Yankees here, and I've already locked in the New York Yankees. I think that they might be getting a little bit more steam just because I do trust their bullpen quite a bit more than the bullpen of the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox have been using their bullpen heavily the past couple days. We all know that they made a whole bunch of transactions, and Nathan Eovaldi for the year has just been absolutely terrible. His whip is 1.87. He has an 8.40 ERA. He's just not the same guy that he was last year. He still has that great fastball, but it's not quite as effective as it was last year. J.A. Happ, meanwhile, well, he hasn't necessarily been good himself. He's 0-2 so far this year, 8.76 ERA. He hasn't necessarily been giving out too many free passes, but he's just been hitting. He's been hit hard. Opponents are hitting 345 off of him, but I do think that he's going to be able to pick it up. In the 11 starts that he had with the Yankees last year, he was 7-0 with a 2.69 ERA. Opponents were hitting 2.17 off of him. I do think that he's going to have a better start in this one because the Boston Red Sox as a whole, they're just not hitting too well. J.D. Martinez doing a great job of being able to hit for average. Mitch Moreland going into Tuesday had 5 home runs. That's obviously a redeeming quality, but Mookie Betts is not hitting the way that he was last year. Jackie Bradley Jr. has not picked it up. Steven Pearce has been very awful for this team. The Red Sox, once again yesterday, got off to a slow start. They were just completely shellacked by the Baltimore Orioles in that series. There's just not too much that's going right for this team, and now they've got Sandy Leon at the catcher spot as a option to Blake Swihart in that whole, I guess you could call it mass exodus. Nunez at the second base spot is not hitting for this team. Xander Bogaerts has actually been picking it up for them, but past that, not too many redeeming qualities with this Red Sox lineup. So I'm taking a look at the Yankees here, and I've already locked that number in. And I do think that the Yankees are going to have a very good pitching outing from J.A. Happ. I think they're going to be able to get to Nathan Eovaldi for a couple runs, and I think they're going to win a little bit of a lower scoring game. I'm right now waiting to see if I can get this under 9.5 at more around -105 and -110 juice, but I'm going to be on that, and I have already locked in the New York Yankees on this game. We move on to 9:17, 9:18 on the betting rotation. It is the Cleveland Indians in Seattle to face off against the Mariners. Carlos Carrasco for the Cleveland Indians takes a bump. Meanwhile, for the Seattle Mariners, Eric Swanson. The total on this game is 8, and we're noticing it -110 on both the over and the under if you like the Cleveland Indians. Going to be laying anywhere between -135 and -136. Seattle Mariners are anywhere between +125 and +126. Man, Eric Swanson going for the Seattle Mariners is not necessarily the guy that I want to be betting on. He's pitched 2 career Major League innings, and he gave up 2 runs in those innings with a walk in each inning. This is one where I've got to take a look at the Cleveland Indians run line. I know that Carlos Carrasco has been badly beaten up so far this year. He's got a 12.60 ERA. But this is a guy that does a great job of being able to get swings and misses. I think that he's going to be able to do a good job of, at the very least, being able to generate a couple strikeouts. And I think that the Seattle Mariners, whose bullpen is a little bit thin right now because they've been dealing with quite a few injuries. You take a look at the lineup up and down. Wade LeBlanc is currently on the 10-day injured list. Sam Tuivailea, I hope I pronounced that correctly, is on the 10-day injured list. I know that they recently signed Neftali Feliz, but he's obviously not up with the rotation right now. And the Cleveland Indians actually have one of the better bullpens out there in the big league. So even if Carlos Carrasco gets torched once again, it is going to lend yourself with a little bit more forgiveness with the Indians. And with Carlos Carrasco so far this year, opponents are hitting 440 off of him. You just can't think that that's going to be able to withhold because he's got 17 strikeouts in 10 innings so far this year. He's got great swing and miss stuff. I do think that the Mariners are going to be able to get a couple runs off of him. Domingo Santana has been sensational for this team heading into Tuesday. He was hitting above 350, 4 home run, 24 RBI. Jay Bruce has 7 home runs. The Mariners got a home run in each of their first 19 games of the season. That is a new record out there in the big leagues. You know that guys like Ryan Healy are going to be able to rake. You know that Daniel Vogelbach is going to be able to get his as well. Tim Beckham, the list goes on and on. But with the Cleveland Indians, they're now almost healthy. Francisco Lindor out of the lineup for this team, and Greg Allen still hitting .040. That is not good. But Jason Kipnis back in the lineup in his debut on Monday. He went 1 for 3. Carlos Gonzalez is in the lineup as well. He was able to generate 2 runs when the team played on Monday as well. He came back on Sunday. Leonis Martin at the top of the lineup has been doing a better job of being able to get on base. Jose Ramirez got his first home run of the year on Monday as well. And Hanley Ramirez is still out there. You got to think that at some point he's going to swing the bat. And just with the Mariners trotting out their Swanson as their starting pitcher, you got to think that that's going to get the Indians bats well as well. This is a spot where I take a look at the Indians, not just being able to win this game, but being able to win this game on the run line, and I am taking this total over. The run line I'm seeing on this game is anywhere between plus 115 and plus 120, so in wait-and-see mode there, but have already locked in this total over. I definitely think that both teams are going to be able to get some runs, and I think Cleveland is really going to pound Swanson and company quite hard. We move on to a game that currently has no number up there on the board, as it's 9:19, 9:20 on the betting rotation. The Baltimore Orioles are on the road to face off against the Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays are going to be going with some form of an opener. Meanwhile, for the Baltimore Orioles, it is going to be Dylan Hess on the mound. I know that for the most part, they typically go with something like Ryan Stanek, and then they bring in Yarbrough in the spot and everything like that. And if the price is right, I actually might take a look at the Baltimore Orioles again. As we know, I've bet on them 4 out of the last 5 days going into this, and this is probably going to be another spot for the over just because the Baltimore Orioles bullpen isn't necessarily great, though I will say that it is improving, and both these teams have been getting a little bit more offense recently. Chris Davis is no longer in his very, very epic funk. Austin Meadows at the top of the lineup for the Tampa Bay Rays has been doing absolutely sensational work so far this year. He's hitting above 325. He's been able to provide the team with 5 home runs, a ton of RBI. He has been sensational for the squad. Meanwhile, you take a look at some of the guys for the Baltimore Orioles. Dwight Smith Jr. has actually been getting the job done. He was able to provide the team a whole lot of power in their game on Monday against the Boston Red Sox. He had 4 RBI in that one. You got to think that Rio Ruiz is going to be able to provide a little bit of something. He's been a little bit hot and cold so far this year with a .213 average, but he was able to provide the first run of the game yesterday against the Tampa Bay Rays. Jesus Sucre has been in a little bit of a funk along with Mullins out there in the outfield, but Jonathan VR hitting just below 300, and Trey Boom Boom Mancini has 6 home runs going into Tuesday's action, and he's hitting nearly 350 himself. Meanwhile, with the Tampa Bay Rays, you've also got G-Man Choi out there in the middle of the lineup. He's hitting right around 260. Tommy Pham, I feel like the St. Louis Cardinals gave up on him a little bit too early. Yandy Diaz has been able to provide some pop, and Brandon Lowe hitting right around 300, and Kevin Kiermaier much improved with the bat. I do think that this is a spot where I'm probably going to take a look at an over if the total is anywhere below 8. At 8, it becomes a little bit more of a question as to the juice. And with the Baltimore Orioles, if they're going to give me $2 with the Baltimore Orioles again, I feel like such a schmuck for taking these prices, but you know what? I'll probably be back on the Baltimore Orioles. If it's more of a reasonable number like minus 150, minus 160 on the Rays, probably going to look at maybe a Rays run line or something like that. It all depends on the numbers right now. So my apologies if I'm a little bit wishy-washy here, but right now in regards to Orioles games, it's all about betting on value. If the value's there, I'm probably going to take a shot on the Orioles. If it's not, I'm going to take a look at the Rays. 921, 922 on the betting rotation. It is the Toronto Blue Jays, and they are in Minnesota to face off against the Twins. Jake Odorizzi goes for the Minnesota Twins. Trent Thornton on the bump for the Toronto Blue Jays. Total in this game is 9, and it is shaded under. The under is minus 120. The over is even juice. If you like the Toronto Blue Jays, you're going to get anywhere between plus 125 and plus 128. And if you like the Minnesota Twins, you're laying anywhere between minus 135 and minus 138. Jake Odorizzi certainly is not a guy that's going to go out there and light the world on fire. He comes into this game 0-2 with a 6.35 ERA, but he does a very decent job of being able to get some strikeouts. I do think that he is a little bit better than what his ERA would seem to indicate, as last year when you take a look, he did a very good job of being able to get 162 strikeouts in 164 innings. His problem was the walks. He had 70 walks in 164 and a third innings. This year, it has been the same thing. He's issued 9 free passes in 11.1 innings, so that's obviously something that he needs to work on. But Trent Thornton, he's been okay ever since he's gotten his call up to the big leagues. He's only started a few games for the team. He's right now 0-1. His ERA is right around a 4.60, but something that I'm noticing is that he's got very good plus stuff, but he sometimes doesn't necessarily have the best of command. He's already got 18 strikeouts so far this year. He's issued 4 free passes in 14 innings. He just doesn't seem like he does a very good job of being able to work counts, though, so I do think that that's going to be very interesting. The Minnesota Twins bats have been doing a good job of being able to pick things up as of late. Jorge Polanco hitting above 400 going into the team's action on Tuesday. He's been doing a great job there. Max Kepler has been able to hit a trio of home runs, but this is a team that is really lacking a little bit of power, especially with Miguel Sano not in the lineup. Jonathan Scope has not really been getting the job done. CJ Cron hit a home run on Monday, but he hasn't necessarily been delivering power. Nelson Cruz doing a good job of average, but not necessarily power. Well, with the Toronto Blue Jays, they've got a couple guys that are starting to pick it up with the bats. Freddie Galvis is hitting above 300 for this team. He's got 5 home runs. I like what he's doing. Justin Smoke has been getting things righted as well. He entered into Tuesday 256 with his average. Brandon Drury, Jansen, and so many guys at the bottom of the lineup just not really doing a good job for the Toronto Blue Jays as a whole. They're hitting just above the Mendoza line. I do think that this is going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game, so for that reason, I'm going to be on this game under, and I'm right now in wait-and-see mode on the under. The Twins have really been having their bullpen fail them a little bit recently, but I do think that they're going to be able to pick things up a little bit. They currently do have Gabriel Moya and Edson Reed on the injured list, but you take a look at the Toronto Blue Jays, they've also got a lot of guys there on the injured list, including starter Ryan Barucki, as well as Ryan Tapia and Clayton Richards, so that means that they're really on fumes with their bullpen as well, and I just have a little bit more faith in the Minnesota bullpen as compared to the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have been getting some good starts, and I do think that Thornton is going to be able to provide one as well, but I do think that all in all, the Twins are going to be able to pull out a game that's going to be a little bit lower scoring. So for that reason, I'm going to be on this total under and wait-and-see mode on the under, but I've already locked in the Minnesota Twins as a play. 923, 924 on the betting rotation. It is the Angels, and they are in Texas to face off against the Rangers. Lance Lynn goes on the bump for the Rangers. Meanwhile, Matt Harvey is pitching for the Angels. The total on this game is ranging between 10.5 and 11. The 10.5 carries an over of minus 120. The under is even. If you like 11, the under is between minus 115 and minus 120. The over is between even juice and minus 105. If you like the Angels, you're going to get a plus price of between plus 110 and plus 107. Meanwhile, if you want to lay it with the Rangers, anywhere between minus 117 and minus 120. I do have a little bit of a tough time having my faith in Matt Harvey. Lance Lynn, not necessarily the monochrome of consistency with regards to pitching, but I do think that Lance Lynn is going to be able to get the job done, and I think that he's going to be able to provide a little bit of a better start. The Rangers don't have quite the bullpen that the Angels do, but the Rangers bullpen has not been bad itself, and we've seen the Angels bullpen get really tired out the last couple of days. It was very important that Berea didn't get completely shelled yesterday because they had really been utilizing a lot of different arms. But with the Texas Rangers, what you also have is a team that is able to do a good job of being able to provide a lot of power against a guy that lends himself to contact in Matt Harvey. He's not what he once was, and you just take a look up and down the Rangers lineup. You got a bunch of guys that have the power to be able to hit home runs, even though they don't necessarily do the best job of being able to hit for average. This includes guys like Asdrubal Noah Mazzara. Hunter Pence has been doing a good job with average, but he has some pop in the bat, as well as Joey Gallo, who is the ultimate feast or famine hitter. And then you take a look at some of the other guys for the Rangers. Sin Chu Chu and Elvis Andrus at the top of the lineup have been doing a very good job of being able to get on base. And for the Angels, they just don't have a lot of consistency with their lineup. Mike Trout is terrific. He does everything for this team. He's hitting above 350. He's been terrific. And then Daniel Fletcher at the top lineup has been doing a nice job of being able to get on base as well. He's hitting just below 300. But take a look at the other guys going into Tuesday's action. Cole Calhoun, Zach Cozart, Tommy La Stella, and Peter Borges all hitting below 200. In the case of Peter Borges and Zach Cozart, hitting below 100. And Dalton Simmons hitting just above the Mendoza line. Albert Pujols hasn't been getting the job done with the bat. I think that that's going to lead to Lance Lynn having a good start in this game. Lance Lynn hasn't necessarily had the best start of the year, and he hasn't necessarily been great the past couple years in general. He's 1-1 with 4.82 ERA, but I think that exactly what he needs to get right is the Angels. And Matt Harvey goes into this game with a whip near 2 with a 10 ERA. He's walking a lot of guys. He's lending himself to hard contact. I think the Texas Rangers should be able to rake him and rake him pretty hard. So for that reason, I'm going to be on the Rangers in this spot and the under. I have already locked in the Texas Rangers as a play, currently in wait-and-see mode on the under, trying to see if I can get the under 11 at minus 110 juice. Game 925, 926 on the betting rotation. It is the Houston Astros in Oakland to face off against the A's. It is Wade Miley on the bump for the Houston Astros. Frankie Montas goes for the Oakland A's. The total on this game is 9, and the 9 is between minus 110 and minus 115 juice on the under. The over is anywhere between minus 105 and minus 110. If you like the Houston Astros, you're going to be laying anywhere between minus 110 and minus 115. The A's are anywhere between even money and plus 105. This is a spot where I have to take a look at the Houston Astros. I really do think that Wade Miley is an undervalued pitcher. He was this way all year long with the Milwaukee Brewers, and it's coming through once again. Montas, not necessarily a terrible pitcher for the Oakland A's, but the A's bullpen this year just isn't quite what it once was last year. They've got two pitchers that you just don't want to see coming out of the bullpen whenever you're in a close game, in our good friends Fernando Rodney and Joaquim Soria. Both these guys just essentially mean a loss right there whenever they come in. Wade Miley, 1-1 with a 3.45 ERA, and the Astros themselves have a very good bullpen. And I will say for Montas, he's had a good year himself. He's 2-1, 3.18 ERA. He does a decent job of being able to get strikeouts. He doesn't necessarily have electrifying stuff, but he does a good job of being able to limit the walks. He's given out 4 free passes in 17 innings so far this year. Opponents are hitting 210 off of him, so he's done a really good job of being able to limit damage. Last year, he was allowing opponents to hit 290 off of him. An obvious improvement there. But with the Houston Astros, you've got so many guys that are doing a great job of being able to hit for this team. They are just littered up and down the boulevard with guys that are able to not just get on base but provide power. Going into Tuesday's action, Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Michael Brantley, Carlos Correa, and Yuri Gurriel were all hitting 280 or greater. Jose Altuve has been hitting cover off the ball recently, 17 home run and 13 RBI going into that game. Michael Brantley has really found his own. Whenever they bring in Jake Marisnick, he does a great job out there in the outfield as well, not just with his glove, but now with his bat as well. Tony Kemp and Tyler White have both been struggling a little bit at the DH spot, but all in all, things are going very well for the Astros. Meanwhile, with the A's, they do have Chris Davis, who's hitting 10 home runs and 20 RBI so far this year. And they've got a couple other guys that have done a great job in the lineup as well. Matt Chapman hitting just below 300. Marcus Semien entered into Tuesday's action hitting 338. But you got a couple guys that need to pick it up. Jurickson Profar hitting below the Mendoza line. Steven Piscotty only hitting 236. Kendrys Morales has just not been able to find things as well. Robbie Grossman has been doing a good job of being able to get on base at the top of the lineup, but I have a lot more faith in the Houston Astros bats. And with the way that the A's ballpark plays out, it is much easier to be able to drive the ball during the day than it is during the night. Like I said, it's that one thing that I don't know exactly what it's from. It's like the Marine something, but this is a reason why I'm going to take this total under, and I'm going to look at the Houston Astros actually on the run line here. I think that they should be able to win this game by multiple runs. I think we're going to get a very good outing here from Wade Miley, and I think that Miley is going to be able to hand it over to a bullpen that certainly is not going to blow it, or else I would not be taking the run line, but I am seeing a run line price on this game currently at plus 130. Currently in wait-and-see mode there, but have already locked in under 9 runs at minus 110. And we wrap it up with the lone interleague game on the roster, 927, 928. It is Trevor Williams going on the bump for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are on the road facing off against the Detroit Tigers. Spencer Turnbull goes for the Tigers. The total on this game is 8, and it is shaded over. The over is between minus 110 and minus 115. The under is between minus 110 and minus 105. If you like the Pittsburgh Pirates, you're going to be laying anywhere between minus 113 and minus 108. If you want to take a shot on the Tigers, that is anywhere between plus 103 and minus 102. This is a spot where I just have to trust in Trevor Williams. I have no idea why he continues to be so badly undervalued by bookmakers. After the All-Star break last year, he had an ERA below 2. He's really been doing a great job of pitching so far this year. In 3 starts, he's 1-0 with a 2.45 ERA, whip below 1. Meanwhile, Spencer Turnbull, he continues to be the most overvalued pitcher that I see in baseball. He's got a 4.80 ERA. He does a good job of being able to get strikeouts. So far this year, he has 19 strikeouts in 15 innings, but he gives up a couple too many free passes. Opponents are hitting 300 off of him. And it's not like he lit the world on fire last year. In 3 starts last year, he got lit up like a Christmas tree with a 6.06 ERA, and opponents hit 262 off of him. I just don't understand the love here for Spencer Turnbull, especially with the Detroit Tigers lineup that, let's face it, it's not like they're the monsters of the Midway or anything like that. With the Tigers, you've got Josh Harrison at the top of the lineup, hitting below 150. Christian Stewart is hitting right at the Mendoza line. Miguel Cabrera seems to be picking it up, but he's still hitting below 275. He hasn't really found his power. Getting back Nico Goodrum is huge. He's hitting just below 300. He hasn't really been able to find the power with regards to home runs. He has just 1 so far this year, but he certainly does a good job of being able to provide something. Nick Castellanos getting back in the lineup is good as well, but Jose Candelario not getting the job done. Gordon Beckham not doing great for this team. Griner at the catcher spot isn't providing a whole lot. And with the Pittsburgh Pirates, you've got a couple sleepy bets as well. Josh Bell and Melky Cabrera have really been the 2 guys that have been able to give this team a stabilizing force. Both these guys are hitting above 300. In the case of Josh Bell, he leads the team with 3 home run and 12 RBI. It was encouraging to see Jong-Go Kong be able to go yard for this team. He was able to hit his 2nd home run of the year, but he's still hitting right around $150 as well, so they need to get that rated. Adam Frazier at the top of the lineup has been able to do a good job of being able to get on base, but this is a spot where I do think that the Pirates should be able to win this game, and they should be able to win this game convincingly. I'm actually trying to take a look at a run line price on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Currently, I'm seeing that run line price between $1.40 and $1.45 in regards to the positive, so I'm going to be taking a look there, but I've already locked in this under. I just don't see the Tigers really getting more than 2 runs in this game with the way that Trevor Williams has been pitching the past year or so. And the Pirates bullpen, even though it's not great, it is pretty darn good. So I do give them some credit there. So for that reason, I am on the under, and I'm going to be on the Pirates run line. And that will do it for a Wednesday edition of MLB Overtime Betting. A big thanks to Chris Cotillo for MassLive.com for joining me in the last segment. You can follow him on Twitter at Chris Cotillo. He was able to join me actually during the Yankees versus Red Sox game, which was really cool. And something else that's really cool is that if you enjoy what you're hearing on this fine podcast, you can subscribe on Apple iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. If you ever have a question for the podcast that you'd like answered, tweet it in at @unit_81. And let's make today a successful and fun day with a little bit of profit as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk at you guys once again tomorrow.